Good morning, everybody, and welcome to 15 Minutes with Lori. Today, I want to talk a few minutes about the contracts, and then we have a guest today. Katie Helms is going to join us, and she's going to share more tips on how you can utilize your social media to build your business. But first, before we get started, I do want to remind everyone that July 1st, which is next week, new contracts will be coming out. The first item is going to be that the biggest change is going to be they're switching the selling broker to buying broker. So there's going to be less confusion on that. So the changes are going to be on all of the forms that have that. So it looks worse than what it is. The second one that I really truly like is the appraisal notice. We've never had anything other than just send the appraisal and an amendment to the listing agent if it does not appraise for the value of what's on the contract. But in this case, now we're going to have an appraisal notice that you can send to that agent along with the appraisal, and so that will be much better, so that you can use that for negotiations versus just emails or text messages. And lastly, the listing for rentals and the lease agreement now coincide with the antitrust lawsuit to meet the needs of how the compensation is being paid. And so they reflect how the residential sale contract and the listing contract are. So the lease agreement and the listing for the lease used to be that the broker was paying the broker, and they had to eliminate that. So now it is the landlord paying the buyer's agent representing the tenant. Okay, so when you see them come out, they're super easy changes. So just be aware of them. And so that's what I wanted to share on that. Are there any questions about the contracts at all? Okay. So I am going to turn it over to Katie Helms this morning. Thank you so much, Katie, for joining us. You might want to unmute yourself.
Hi.
So Katie, again, is our social media expert. She provided a LinkedIn class, I think it was last week, and that went very well. And then she also provides monthly the social media training class, where if you have not been a licensed agent for a while and you've never created a business page, she does a compliance class to help you build that page. And if you're an experienced agent who hasn't used your page in very long, or even your social media, you want to join that one as well. Then after the compliance, she does driving traffic to those social media platforms. So welcome again, Katie.
Thank you. So today I want to take a minute and talk about reviews. And on social media, those are called different things depending on which platform you're on. So we train on Facebook, Instagram, and now LinkedIn. And so they work a little bit different on each of those. I want to go through how to do those, how to set them up, how to send a link to somebody so they can give you a review, and then what it means based on what platform you're using that on. So the first one that I want to go through is Facebook. And let me see, how do I share my screen, Lori?
Down at the bottom, there should be a green arrow, and it should say share. Do you not see it?
Okay. Yes, I see it.
Okay.
Okay. I just need to get to it. Okay. So I'm going to start with Facebook. Can everybody see the Facebook page here? So I'm using our company's Facebook page to show you this demonstration. So you can see and this has to be done on a business page. So if you haven't been to social media training, or you haven't been in a while, you might want to stop in to make sure that your business page is set up correctly so that you can receive these reviews. On Facebook, they call them reviews. You can call it testimonials, you can call it whatever you want, but Facebook calls it reviews. And you can see here that in these tabs, in these main tabs, we have a reviews tab. If you are looking at your business page and you do not have a reviews tab, that means you need to come to social media training and we need to turn that on. And I won't get into how to do that on this training. I'm just going to get into how to actually use it. So on the reviews tab, you can have people go to your business Facebook page and they can write a review. It is super simple. They would just go to the reviews tab and they would, start typing in their review. Now, I always like to make it super simple for the people that we're working with and offer a way for you to give them a direct link that will go to this tab. And it is simple as going to your business page, clicking. You're probably going to be on the About section when you get there, but you're going to need to click over on the Review section. And once you're there, all you have to do is go up to the URL, copy that, and then you can paste it into a text message. You can paste it into an email. You can paste it into any way that you have of contacting that person. And then they have a direct link that will go right to your reviews page. So it'll take them straight there and they can write a review right away. It's super simple. So that's how to do it. But let's talk for a minute about what this actually does in terms of Facebook. So when we're talking about Facebook as a platform, and if you come to social media training, you hear me talk about how Facebook, or regardless of which platform it is, they want you to have success. So the algorithm is going to be more favorable to the agents or people, the accounts on Facebook that are having success. So if you are sending this link to, maybe it's the people that you recently closed a transaction with, or maybe it's mid-process through a transaction, or maybe it's buyers that you've been working with for a while, helping to find that perfect home for them. You've written contracts and you're just kind of like in the trenches trying to get them under contract with something. You can have them write you a review at any stage of the process, because anything that you're doing on Facebook is going to help you. So you can see up here at the very top on the review section, this is going to say there's 26 reviews. And out of those, the average is that it's like a 94% recommendation average. And that's basically, think back to in school where a 94% is an A. So that's pretty much where you want to be. You want to be in that like A status. So by having people write these reviews and giving you good quality reviews, you're going to keep that A status, which means you're a high value account on Facebook, and you're going to get organically recommended and put in people's feeds as a result of that. So let's switch gears over for just a minute and talk about doing this on LinkedIn. And you'll see the differences in how you do it and also what the benefits are. So if I switch over to LinkedIn, I'm going to go to my profile, and this is how you will set this up. In LinkedIn, you have to complete one step before you can actually receive reviews. And on LinkedIn, we don't call them reviews, we call them recommendations. So on LinkedIn, you would be under View Profile. You need to go to Add Profile section, and there's 3 areas. So you're going to go to the Recommended section, and you're going to go down to Add Recommendations. So LinkedIn calls these reviews recommendations, and the reason why they call them recommendations is because when a person writes a review on LinkedIn, they're writing it for one specific facet of your total scope of offerings on LinkedIn. So when you're asking a person for a recommendation, so you're going about it in this method, you click on Ask for Recommendation. You can then search right here in the search bar for people in your network that you would like to have review you. So it seems a little bit backwards because you have to find that person that is going to speak to a specific part of your business. So let's say, for example, I want to have Jabril write a recommendation for me. I can go ahead and start searching her name in this section, find her, click on that, and then I can go ahead and continue over to send her a request for a recommendation. Now, this is going to give her the opportunity to write a recommendation for me. So on LinkedIn, of course, you have to already be connection with this person. So if you want to get reviews from your clients, you need to start making connections with your clients on LinkedIn. And that's, of course, going to increase your audience anyway. But in order to get that recommendation, you have to take that step first. So I am already connected to Jabril. That's why we're using her as an example. But I'm gonna send her this request, and I'm gonna say, what is your relationship with her? I'm going to, go down to Jabril as a client of mine. Let's say, for example, she is in this recommendation. I'm going to talk about what my position is at the time. So when you're setting up your LinkedIn profile, we're always talking about setting up your experiences, which are your work experiences that people can see on LinkedIn. So my position is that I'm a licensed real estate agent at Realty Exchange, or I can choose I'm a licensed real estate agent at Life Real Estate, which is my specific name of my brand. Either way, it doesn't matter. But now I can send a personalized message to her asking for this recommendation. So you can see with the LinkedIn example so far, it's already a little bit more, there's more steps involved here. But the benefit to doing it this way on LinkedIn is that it does offer a more customized experience. On Facebook, you're simply offering them a link and asking them to write this review, and they write what they write. On LinkedIn, they give you the opportunity to give a little bit of direction. And that's what I like about this, is because as a receiver of the review, I want to be able to have some direction over what the review is going to have. So maybe I would say something like, in this personalized message to Jabril, I would say, instead of "would you write me a recommendation, please," I would say, "I know we haven't closed this transaction yet, but you have been a great buyer that I've been working with, and I really wanted to ask for a recommendation about the services I have provided to you as your buyer's agent." So I'm giving her a little bit of direction when I'm asking for this recommendation. So I would write that in there, and then I would send that recommendation request over to Jabril, and I would wait for her to write the recommendation. So that is one method of doing it within LinkedIn. That's me asking for the recommendation. Now, there's another way that we can go about doing this, where a person would just be recommending you on your page in LinkedIn. So 2 methods of doing this. So I'm going to close out this version, and we're going to hop over to a different way of doing it, and I'm going to show you how that works. Now, in this scenario, in this example, I'm going to use Lori as my example, and I am going to write a recommendation for Lori. So the opposite here. So of course, Lori will have to be in my network in order for me to write this recommendation for her. And you can see your network by clicking on my network at the top and going to your connections over in the left-hand side. And you can see the people that you have in your network on who you want to write a recommendation for. But I'm going to use Lori in this example. So I'm going to go to Lori's LinkedIn page, and in order to write a recommendation here, I'm going to click on more, and then I can say click on recommend. So it pulls up the exact same screen here. However, I'm doing it in the opposite order. So here, once again, I'm selecting my relationship to Lori. I'm selecting the position that I have at the time. I'm selecting the position Lori has at the time. And now I'm writing my recommendation here for Lori. So you're getting to the same thing, but you're going at it from 2 different ways. And to simplify this process, so let's say, for example, you want to send a link to this part of LinkedIn. You want to send this link to a client that you're currently working with to ask them to make this recommendation. You can very simply just go to this page and you can copy the URL and you can send it just like we talked about on Facebook. So you would copy the URL, you would paste it into a text message, an email, any place that you can copy and paste that URL that will very quickly take them to this spot. So if I'm looking at this from my own profile, then I can very simply go to the recommendations. I can go up here, and once you have that recommendation set up, I can copy that link, I can paste it into any method of communication that I want, and I can get people to write a recommendation for me on LinkedIn. But remember, they do have to be in your network, so you have to connect with them first. So when we talked during social media training, and very specifically during that LinkedIn training we recently had, we talked about growing that network, and we talked about adding people as connections and building that database. So if you're doing that on a regular basis, then you can also on a regular basis add to your list of things that you're asking for recommendations. Okay.
Katie, that's fantastic. That is wonderful information. I mean, that will speak loudly for all of you. If we're not using this, we're missing it here. This is fantastic stuff.
It is. It really is. And it works really, really well.
Good. Well, I have to cut you off there because we're actually 2 minutes over. Does anybody?
Sorry.
No, that's okay. It was valuable information for sure. Is there any questions that anyone has for Katie this morning?
Katie, when do you do training?
It's on Lori's monthly calendar, and it is typically the third Thursday of the month, but sometimes depending on when the month starts, it may fall a little bit differently. So refer to Lori's training calendar. It is on there every single month, and it does always fall on a Thursday. Now, I will say there's 2 sections. The 9 a.m. session is setting up social media accounts. So if you have already done that within the past, year or so, you don't need to come to that again. You can show up at 10:30, which is where we start talking about driving traffic to those accounts and using those accounts for business building purposes. And that begins at 10:30 during that training session.
And that is going to be July the 24th. So mark your calendars. Join us here at the Big Bend office for the compliancy at 9 and then the building, the audience at 10:30. Thank you so much for joining us, Katie. I truly appreciate your time. Everybody have a great day. I do have this recorded, and it will be on 15minuteswithlori.com. Don't forget, today at 11 o'clock, I have a coaching session brought to you by Caldwell Banker. Anybody who would like to join me, please come to the office. It's going to be a great session. And then Wednesday, I have Stacy Deutschman joining us at 9 a.m. To talk to you about how she uses TikTok to build her business. So I will see you all later. Have a great day. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Thank you.